And we're back, and it is COMP125, week 9, part 2 of our broadcast in the summer 2016 semester for Centennial. We're talking about JavaScript, and we just finished doing a little bit more around lesson 8. I just kind of continue, even though we're week 9. I didn't want to let go of lesson 8. I don't want to let go of objects because there's so much to do here, and we've really just scratched the surface. I mean, I did a little bit more here with an object array. I don't want to get confused the crap out of you guys too much more, but you're going to see a lot of this in real life. Okay, let me just put this up to GitHub. So I've made some changes here. I'm just going to put it up to GitHub and say uploaded or updated app.js. Okay, and we're going to push. Okay, so we've done this piece, and what I want to do is close this down for a second, and close this down for a second, and close this down, right? And let's start off a new project based on lesson 8. We'll call it lesson 9. So we're going to go to 125. We're going to right-click here on the Mac and duplicate. You can also copy-paste on the PC to create a copy. And like I did before, I'm just going to just make this lesson 9, right? And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go CD to the actual lesson. So CD. This I'll just do a little differently this time. And notice that there's master, right? If one thing to note about GitHub, we haven't talked a lot about GitHub in this course. We just really just created GitHub just so we can use it, right? But there's a lot to GitHub, a lot more stuff that we've been using, especially to Git. And we haven't really done anything that's, to help you guys collaborate or anything. The next assignment I might give you is something that you might want to work with somebody else on. We'll see how it goes on this one, and I'll give it to you on Wednesday after the test, after the quiz. Okay? I'll give you a new assignment for JavaScript. Well, let's talk about this again. One thing to note is that because I have an existing project that I just copied, I still have a Git repository. And remember, if I do ls-al, I can see that there's this .git, and if you're on the Windows machine, and you can see everything. You can see that there's a this .git folder, and this is where all the repo information is kept, repository information. One thing to note is I can always do a git status. Git status tells me, do I have anything unmodified or untracked? And I do. I have some stuff that I've been using in my project that I'm not tracking right now, right? What I want to do right now is I want to do something like this. I want to do git. Right, I want to remove the git .git. So -rf, like I said before, remove with force recursively .git. So it's gone. Now I have no Git repository. I want to bring lesson 9 into Visual Studio Code, and again, Visual Studio Code is updated, and it doesn't automatically open a lesson unless you want it to now. Right? That's one thing it's noticed. I don't know if you've noticed that, but Visual Studio Code, as of this version 1.3, right, things have changed a little bit. Just putting it out there, right? I don't know if you've updated lately, but there's a few changes. One of them is you can't drag and drop anymore. And the other thing is the extensions is really cool. You can see all the extensions that I've loaded in for myself. This is all changed. And also, Git is a little different. It's in there. So what I want to do is, starting off, I open up a folder. It's slightly different. And I'm going to go to lesson 9, and I'm going to open, right? So this is going to show me lesson 9's folder. There it is. And one thing I want to get rid of is this stuff in here, right? So I'm just going to get rid of all this. So let's get rid of this. And I'm going to move all this extra stuff that I have in my lesson to trash. I don't need this stuff. I was just experimenting, and especially launch JSON. Let's get rid of this too. Okay. All right, so, and even my .vs code folder, I might as well just delete this whole thing, because I don't need it. Okay, good. So I've got all this stuff happening right here in my assets. One thing I know is my markdown file is not lesson 8, it's lesson 9, right? It's not object-oriented JavaScript. The lesson is all around manipulating data in strings and arrays, right? That's what this lesson's all around. So we're going to kind of take this one, right? So we're going to put this one over here. I remember that in Markdown, this is not markup, it's Markdown. And Markdown, there's a bunch of stuff you can do here. You can put images, links, all kinds of stuff in Markdown, right? But notice that there's the single hash, which is for an H1 tag equivalent, and double hash is for an H2 tag. And if you want to look at Markdown, there's all kinds of information on how to create new Markdown for your readme.md file. The MD stands for Markdown. Just want to expose you to it. It's very, very, again, we're just scratching the surface. Let's go back to index.html. And we also know that here, where it says lesson 8, object-oriented JavaScript, we're going to put in manipulating, data and strings, make this lesson 9. In my bower.json, it's not lesson 5, that's for sure. It's lesson 9. We haven't updated that for a while, right? We haven't changed any of this, and this is good. We haven't changed Font Awesome or jQuery or Bootstrap or anything. Let's leave all that alone. And we're not doing anything with our projects or anything else. I've been just working on one file right now because we have some new stuff. In my scripts app.js, notice this is today. I think what we're sitting at is July 11th. Can't believe it. July 11th, peoples, right? Alrighty. And this file, is for the website. That's fine. Let's kill everything that's in here other than the use strict. So let's just clean this up again so we can have it start from scratch. We will have an init function because I think I like using an init function. So I'll keep that, but I'll keep it empty for now. And inside my init function, I'm just going to say console.log app started, just so we know that we can reach it, right? Here we go. So I've got my initial, this is all my initial stuff, right, that I've got in here into my initial function. So all I've got in my app.js is this, right? Remember that we use window.addEventListener to wait for the window to finish loading before we activate our init function. The init function, think about it as the start function. This is where my application starts. You can actually rename this to start if you want. Doesn't matter. Okay, so we've got all this. We're ready to go. I want to make sure that everything else is working properly. So what I'm going to do, just to fire it up, to test it before I put it up on GitHub, is I'm going to open up in a new terminal. Also, notice that, if you're a Mac user, it's shifted. It takes away the ability for you to iTerm. You can actually go into, you have to go into properties inside of Visual Studio Code. If I go to properties for a second, so if I go code preferences, user settings, or workspace settings, one of the two. If I go to user settings, it tells you inside this how if I've modified my external editor as an example so that it uses iTerm. You can choose whatever editor. This is for OS X, for Mac OS. My external editor is iTerm. That's why my iTerm pops up and not my terminal for those people who care, right? I've also changed my font family to Consolis and my font size to 20. So that way it's there. However, this is the really cool thing about Visual Studio Code in this version, right? If I want to, I believe if I want to zoom in, you can zoom in now, right? And I think there's a function to do that. I was reading about it as something that is new when you scroll in and out. I can't remember how to do it now. And there's a zoomable function. That's one thing that they showed us how to do. Anyway, so but for now, all we care about is this. Okay, so I think we've got a good set to start off with our repo. So again, on my command line here, and you can also use the desktop tool. I'm going to say git init, initialize my Git repository, and then I'll say git add dot. When I say add dot, I want to say add everything in my repository to the staging area, right? And then git commit -m, right? I want to say initial commit, which is the initial commit for this repository. Yay. I want to connect to something that's online. If I go git status, by the way, git status gives me on branch master, nothing to commit, right? Okay, working directory clean. It's always good to see working directory clean. Let's go up to GitHub and add in another repo for us, right? So go github.com, and I'm going to go into the plus here, go into repository. I'm going to choose my organization as Centennial, and we're going to make the name of the file COMP125 lesson 9. When I do such a thing, and if I click create repository, you can see that when it comes up, I have a couple of things: git remote add origin, right? By the way, you don't have to call it origin. You can call it whatever you want, right? So and also when I do a git push -u origin master, I'm setting where I'm pushing to the master branch. All right, we haven't talked about branching at all, right? But let's just copy these two lines for now, like we've always done, and go in here and paste. Yeah. And then what it's doing is it sends everything up. It sends everything up, right? And when I refresh, I have a couple of things here. Notice that I'm on branch master. Again, a little bit more about GitHub, right? I'm on branch master. I could create another branch if I want. Okay, I could. And notice that I have one branch, one commit, 0 releases, 1 contributor. That's me, right? And if you have something to add, right? As an example, I want one of you. How about you? All right. I want you to go up on my GitHub repository, and I want you to fork me. I mean that in a nice way, by the way. Fork the repository, please. Go up there, and if you click on, it's on the right-hand side, so it's called Centennial College COMP125 Lesson 9. I want you to fork the repository. Actually, you know what? All of you do it if you want. Trust me. Just do it. Go up there and try this out. This is a new thing. All right. So I'm showing you something new on GitHub, which is important for us to know. All right. So imagine you're collaborating with someone. There's different ways to collaborate with people on GitHub. You could go into the repository and in settings add a collaborator, or you could do it like this. I'm working with you. You have no access to my repo. Did you do it? Yes. Forked? Okay, good. I want you to download this and create this repo as your own. Keep my commits. Okay. Keep my commits, and I want you to clone this to your desktop, or clone it or download. Just clone it. So if I go here, if you look at it, I can open up in desktop if you have that desktop app, or I can download the zip. Either way, I want you to clone my repository. Okay, here's what I want you to do for people who are following along. I want you to add a class. Any one of you can do this, by the way. I want you to add a class person, like we had the example last day. Okay, so we just had that example already. So again, if you guys forget how to do the syntax, I invite you to look at typescriptlang.org. And if you want to do it easy, in an easy way, go to the playground, right? And inside here, here's class user. Let's add another class person, right? If you forgot how to do it, this is a quick way of doing it. And I will ask you to do this on a test, okay? So just bear with me while I do this. Your final exam will have some kind of random numbers, and it's going to have some kind of class that you're going to have to create, right? Or some kind of object to use, either way, okay? Maybe not so, to create. But then if I have some objects, I have a couple of things for my class person, right? I have a constructor, just do this, constructor, and I have 2 public options in my constructor. One of them is the name, which is of type string, and the age, right, which is public age, which is of type number. And inside my constructor, it doesn't do anything else. That's it. Age and number. That's it. Take a look what I get. I get this. This is all you need right here to make your class person. So take this and include it, and give me another commit. Create another commit. Right now, are you connected to my repository? No, you're not. You have to make your own repository, but you forked me on GitHub, right? So you've downloaded the fork, right? I want you to connect to the repository. How do you connect to a forked library? No, you have to do a pull request, and I'll do this in a second with you. So we'll do a new thing, right? So if I upload my commit, right? Can you upload the commit? Let's see how this works, right? So what am I really asking you to do? I'm saying fork, right? So I'm clicking on the fork, and it tells me, well, where do I want to fork this thing? Do I want to put it back in here, right? As an example, I have some other options. You only have one option, right? But what if I started off a new user, right? And I want to fork this off. I can do this. Fork, what it does is it keeps a copy of my repository. You make a copy of yours to mine. If I refresh, I've got 6 people who forked, right? And if I want to see who forked it, right, for July 11th, here's July 11th. So here it is, right? You can see that it tells me there's 6 people who forked. Here's July 11th, right? That's today. And if I look at Centennial College, right? Can I see the people who forked me? Can I look at that? And then, by the way, what you're doing is you're forking the master branch, right? There's only one branch. And when you create a fork, right? This is it. Here's contributors for fork. Notice there's no contributors, right? Here's traffic on the actual branch. Here's commits. I've only got one commit, right? I'm just looking at fork for details. Code frequency, punch card, right? here's network, right? And here's members. These are all the people who forked me, right? So you can always tell, if you don't know who forked you, you can always look at this and say, who forked my repository? These are all the people who forked me. The reason why you want this is if someone takes your code, right, and you're like, you see a fork, you're like, hey, who created a fork of my code? You can always go find out who, right? And if you look at them, you can actually go down in here and find out which one it is. Okay, so you finished?
Yeah, we will get the old repository.
You made your own repository with your fork,
yeah.
right? Now you want to make, but your fork. It's exactly what mine is, yeah. But yours, right? And you've created a fork on Git, and what you want is you want to make a pull request. So how do you do a pull request? You go to my original file here, right? And notice that I have pull request 0, right? So go and make a pull request. Go into pull request from my file. You have to go to my repository, make a pull request, make a new request. Create the pull request, right? So how does it work? It looks like this, new pull request, right? It looks like this, right? And then it says, where is it going? Master, right? And look at, it says base master, compare master, right? And it says 1 day here, 24 hours ago. It's not really true, right? It says choose different branches or forks above to discuss and review changes. I'm not going to, but I want to choose my branch master, right? And I want to choose, this is where it's going. So here's my comparing changes. Nothing changes. Nothing changed. Let's go back. Go back to this new pull request. So how do I complete the request? Well, I can't do it because, you know, as an example, it's me, right? If I click this, it's just going to show me the comparison. Did you do it?
Well, pull a request from your repository?
No. The pull request, what you're going to do is you're going to go to my repository and click new pull request. Yeah. Okay, now finish your pull request, please. Okay, cool. So look at the options here. Compare and review just about anything, right? It says. So, compare across forks. Now, notice that it says my base is master, right? And in order for you to make a pull request, you have to have a copy of the stuff. Let me show you one that I'll pull one, and I'll show you what it looks like if I make a pull request. Let's copy a library that already exists, okay? And there's a library out there that I can think of called jQuery. Let's see if there's a jQuery library. We can make a pull request on a jQuery. They won't review it or request it, but I can try and do it, right? So if I go to jQuery, right, GitHub, I want to find where my GitHub pages are in jQuery. Here it is. Here's jQuery. It's a very popular library. I want to make a new pull request, right? Well, look at all the forks, right? If I do a new pull request, I'm going to get the same thing, right? And it says, if I hover over this, it says this. It says using pull request. Before you begin, these are the things you need to do. Switch to your branch. You know, click new pull request, right? These are all things that needs to happen, right? Now, what you need to do is make a new branch. Did you make a new branch? So I have to fork this thing. Let's fork it, right? I'm gonna fork it here under me, not under Centennial, right? Actually, I'll fork it on Centennial, no problem. Here it is. So I'm forking the branch. This is how forking works, right? I'm doing jQuery, all right? Like we're talking like thousands of forks, 10,000 forks now, right? So here's the jQuery library. It's almost like I'm doing my own, right? Okay, here's what I need to do. I need to make a new branch, right? So here's a new branch. So we're gonna call this, you know, 3. You know, new branch or Tom's branch. Tom's branch. Tom branch. How about the Tom branch? Right? Tom branch. I'm on Tom branch right now. Take a look. There's 3 branches. There's the original master branch where I pulled from, and I got my own. Right? On my own Tom branch. Right? I want to add a new commit or a new something. So let's say I'm going to go and do the change. I'm going to go to the README file. Here's my README file, and I'm going to change the README file for jQuery. So here's my README file. I'm going to go there and edit it online. Right? And I'm going to say contribution guidelines for Tom's branch, right? By the way, it won't matter when I do this. And when I do this up online, I can go commit changes. So now I've got a new commit. And if you notice from a contributor perspective, if I look at commits for my branch, right? Here's my branch of jQuery. I can see the last commit that was done. Who did the last commit? July 8th, and the master branch. But look at my branch. If I look at my branch, Tom's branch, you can see that I did my commit. Now, this has nothing to do with their branch. I'm not connected to them whatsoever. When I make a fork, I make a copy of their folder on mine. Now I want to make a pull request, right? So I go to pull requests, new pull request, right? And what I want to do is I want to compare it with my Tom branch, right? Now, when I've done this, see how I can create a pull request here. What the pull request does, it says, here's the change I'm proposing, right? And when I create a new pull request, it's going to go back to the original owner, right? It's going to ask me to make a comment for this as well. So here's create new pull request. And I say, look, I can put in here, I recommend a change. My pull request. I recommend a change, change the README file. Change to the README file as follows. Right? Whatever. And then I can create my pull request. Once I've done that, what I'm really doing is sending a message to the owners of the repo and say, hey, do you want to accept my changes in my new branch? And then if they say yes, I can merge your branch with mine. And now I'm collaborating. I'm actually controlling the repo. So my repository, I'm adding yours into it. That's what I'm doing. That's what a pull request is. You make a pull request to me. If I am the owner of the repository, you make a pull request to me, and if I approve it, I merge your changes into my stuff. Did you do it? The way to do it is, let me show you how to do this, right? So how do I do it locally? So I've done this remotely. I'm going to go back to pull requests and go back to jQuery. This is jQuery, not me, not my jQuery. This is not mine. This is theirs, right? If I go back to my original one, this is mine, where's the Centennial College jQuery, right? Okay, good. So what I want to do is I have my branch, which is this one, Tom branch, right? Now I want to clone this thing or download it, right? So I want to clone this thing. So let's download this thing. So I'm going to open up on my desktop tool, all right? Or I can also download it in zip, right? Just download this thing. So I'm going to download it onto my desktop and put it inside my COMP125 folder. This is jQuery. Let's save it up. And move to trash. Here's my jQuery Tom branch. Notice I'm downloading this, my Tom branch, right? And when I go to here, right, and just want to show you this stuff from a collaboration perspective. Remember, we talked about GitHub being one of the tools we use for collaboration. So inside my COMP125 folder, here it is. What I want to do is take my jQuery branch. Let's clear this up for a second. Take my jQuery branch, go CD, and then take my jQuery branch and drag and drop. Enter. Notice that I don't have a repository attached to this. There is no repository because I'm just downloading a brand new zip file, right? And the zip file has nothing to do with anything else. If I go ls-al and I did it this way, I have a bunch of stuff that's in here. But one thing I don't have is a .git folder. No .git folder, no repo information. This is just my branch. It has nothing to do with theirs, right? And I'm not connected in any way. Yes. I'm taking their file, creating a new branch, copy of the master branch. A branch is like, here's all my files, right? And I've kind of made it to the point where I'm done modifying their files, right? And then what I'm doing with that master branch, I'm making a copy, and my next commit is on my own branch, my own line of development, right? It has nothing to do with that other branch, right? I do my commits. I add commits to my branch and nothing to do with their branch. And then what I do is I say, hey, I have an idea for making jQuery better. Can you pull it in? And so I send a message through a pull request to the owners of jQuery, the people who control the contributors, the administrators of jQuery, and they say, okay, let me review your pull request. They review it, and if they think it's good, they merge it with their original branch, so my changes are aligned with theirs. So now my stuff is inside of their of their branch. And that's how we do contributions as a community member and developer to this. But the problem is we don't have any way of, we don't have a Git repository here. I need to add this remote. So how do I do it? Hold on. I need to Git, first of all, I need to add a repository. So I'm going to say this. I'm going to say Git init, right? And there's a couple ways to do this. Remember, there's ways of me initializing my repository and pulling it down, right? And I want to merge, I want to sync up with my repository that's online that has all of their changes already on there, right? So I want to Git clone is what I want to do. And if I want to look at cloning a repository, let's do that as opposed to, because I want to clone. I don't want to download. Downloading doesn't do what I want to do. So if I want to just get out of here for a second, and I want to kill this thing, right? How do I clone? And again, if I looked at, Git clone, how do I do that, right? And it tells you how to do that. If I go Git clone from a documentation perspective, it gives you examples of how you can clone something, right? And down in here, you can say Git clone as an example of the name of the path that you're going on. And this is the general form, Git clone, and then whatever the template or directory is, and then the path of the thing you're downloading, right? So I want to clone the repository that's already in existence for me, right? And when I clone it, I include the repo information. Okay, so let's go back. I just want to give you a good example of this. Git clone example. People are just going nuts with me getting a Git repository. I want to show you a good example of this. Here we go. So does this look like anything new that you've never seen before? Well, no, but this is exactly what I'm doing. If I do this, right, then what I'm doing is I'm taking it, I'm cloning it inside that repository. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And it's not that difficult to do, all right? I mean, all I'm doing is Git clone and then the name, where the repository is. Okay, I just wanted to show you that information, right? So here's my repository, and here's the link. Here's the link right here, right? So if I copy the link, right, and if I go back to here, and I'm inside my COMP125, if I go Git clone, then the link, and press enter, right? It's going to pull everything down, just like it was when I pull the zip file down. It's going to take some time because jQuery is pretty big, right? I'm pulling down the whole jQuery library written by all these other contributors, and jQuery has lasted for many, many years. This is not something that's been developed overnight, right? Good. Okay, cool. I'm going to do an ls, and I have a couple of things you can see, right? Let's take a look and see one thing for a second, if I did this correctly. And we'll do it again if it makes sense to you. So if I go in here, I have something called jQuery, and I have qtest and test-l. Here's my jQuery right here, all right? So if I go into jQuery, now I have master information. Take a look. I have a Git file, right? There it is, .git, right? And if I go Git status, you can see that I'm on branch master, but I want to move to my branch, right? So I want to look at all the branches that exist. So I'll say Git branch, and you can see that the only one I have is the master branch, because that's the one I cloned, right? So how do I create another branch? And I can do that in two ways. One, I've only cloned the master branch. I haven't cloned the other one, and there's nothing in the other branch anyway, right? So let's make a new branch. How do I make a new branch? Git checkout, right? And the way you do it is, or you can actually use the branch command. Branch, we'll say Tom's branch. Okay, there we go. Git branch Tom branch. And if I go Git branch now, I have two, master and Tom's branch. Master includes all the changes that jQuery has added in there. Tom branch is the new one I'm creating that's empty, right? And if I go into Tom's branch, I have to go like this: Git checkout Tom's branch. Now it says switch to Tom's branch. Notice that there's this little asterisk next to master. If I go Git branch, you can see that master is on Tom's branch. Okay, now that I have this, and if I have this, here's jQuery, and if I want to put it into a Visual Studio Code, right, I can't drag and drop anymore, right? I've got to go up here like this, or file open, right? And I got to open this project. So here's my project open. And now you can see when it opens it up, here's my changes, right? I got a couple of changes that I added in here for VS Code, right? But notice all this stuff. So now if I go to my README file, remember that I wanted to make a change to README for Tom's branch. Remember, I'm on Tom's branch, right? And if I save it, you can see I've made a change to my README file. There it is, right? And if I go to GitHub, right, you can see I can publish my branch, right? Publish my branch. I can push it back up to my files. Also, down in here, if I go Git status, I can see that I have one file that I've added in plus a folder, and I can add those in. This is, by the way, notice I'm on Tom's branch and not on master anymore, right? So if I go git add dot, that adds everything to my branch. Git commit -m, I'll say something like updated README. I'm gonna have a problem, aren't I? Because I'm doing the same thing twice. I've already done this up online, right? If I go git push, right? Git push, where am I pushing to? Tom's branch, right? Right? Well, how do I do that? How do I push to the remote branch? How do I publish the branch? I can't push to origin anymore, right? Because origin has to do with master, right? So if I go here, just for a second, look over here, notice I have this ability to publish the branch. Now, if I publish my branch, where's it going to go? It's done. Let me go up here to show you what I'm talking about here. And if I refresh my branch, right, here's Tom branch, and there's also Tom's branch. There's the new one I made, Tom's branch. This is this. Because I made my new branch, I can make a pull request with GitHub or with jQuery. And again, sorry guys, a little bit off topic, but I can collaborate with jQuery, the people from jQuery, and send in a request to take my branch and merge it with their own. So this is how you would collaborate. This is the best way to collaborate with your partner. Yes. Well, I was hoping that you guys were able to do it with me, but no one's been able to submit a request. Did you do it? You did it? Okay, let's try it out. So if you did it, we'll end this off. We'll end this off by going back to me. So here's Centennial College, and I go back. And by the way, you can kill this. I can kill this thing later on. I will kill it. But if I go here, notice that I've got my one branch, and I have no pull requests. If you did it properly, I would have had a pull request in here. You need to send me a pull request. And the only way you can just send me a pull request is if you take my branch, copy it, make a new branch, right? And do what I just did. We'll go more into detail about this next day because I want you guys to know how to submit changes when you work with somebody else. And so here's the workflow. This is how you would do it, okay? This is how you would do it. It's my repository. I'm working with you, right? But you clone my repository. Notice that I also cloned my whole Git commits. All the commits are there from before. My commits, you already have my commits. Now that you've cloned my repository, you have everything. You create a separate branch, which is almost like another way of, you're using a new development area that you're creating on your own. You modify something, and when you're done, you upload it you publish it to GitHub, and then you go and do a pull request with me, and then, or if I accept the pull request, it automatically merges your changes into the master branch. No, you have to do a clone. That's why I just say you have to clone it. If you don't clone it properly, it won't work because you don't have all my changes. You don't have all my commits, right? Less than 9. Maybe I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, there's your pull request. Let's do this thing. So here's his pull request. Update README. That's his pull request, right? And I'm here. And what I can do is I can look and see what he's done, right? No description provided. He updated the README. I can actually click this and see what he's done. He's added in HiProf, right? I'm just saying, that's how it works, right? And if I go back, I can decide whether I want to merge the request or not. If I click Merge Request, right? I can even send a nice comment saying thanks for your work, thanks for all your good work. Right? I can comment on that one. Thanks for all your good work. So you're going to get a comment back. Take a look. Right? And I can say merge pull request. You see it? I can do merge pull request. And when I do that, it says confirm merge, right? And then it takes his stuff and adds it into mine. Now let's take a look at my repository, my repo now. It's a little different than it before. If I go back here, and if you notice up online, right? It says hi prof. It's there. But on my local repository down on my computer, it's not there. I have to pull it down, right? So the way to do that, and I'm sorry to keep you guys so long, the way to do that is let's move to that other repository for a second, and then I'll let you guys go, I promise. Please bear with me one more second, right? I want to open this up again, right? So I would go File, Open, and when I open up is lesson 9. There's open, right? So it's opening up lesson 9. But lesson 9 is behind. I'm behind, right? And what I want to do is I want to pull yours down. So let's open this up in terminal for a second. And I want to fetch or pull the master. So I'm going to say git pull. What it does fast forward, and it pulls down your insertion, one file change, one insertion, one deletion, right? And now if I look at my README file, you can see that it says hi prof. So I pulled it locally down. So now I have it locally. Now this is recorded, so you can always follow this way of doing things. But the way to do it is you clone my repository, or you can do it online. You probably did it online. You clone my repository, you make a change, or changes you want to make to the files, add a file, remove a directory, whatever you want. You make a pull request, you go back online, you push your changes to your own branch. Then you go into the original one and you make a pull request with your changes, because it keeps track of the fork on GitHub, right? And when you make a pull request, the original owner can decide whether he wants to merge your changes into the branch or not. Okay, that's it. We'll get more about strings and arrays and all that next day.
Close pull request. It will like delete everything from there, or
yes. So I can do that. So I can close the pull request. So if I go back up here, and if I look at my pull request, it's closed. So there is no pull request anymore. Well, there's one pull request. There's update README, and I can close the pull request, right? And once I've done that, the pull request is closed, right? And if I go back to the file, there is no more pull request.
And what about the README file?
It's changed for good. It's changed already. Okay, guys. Next day we get together. Remember, when we get together, it's going to be a quick quiz, 5 questions on object-oriented JavaScript based from last week and the stuff we did today. And then we'll get right into strings and arrays, and we'll finish off that section for this week. Okay? And give you your assignment number 3 or 4, whatever it is. Thank you.
I got a mail.